What do I feed my cat? How much do I feed my cat? What about kittens? All of that coming up in this video. Hey friends, it's Jess and Jericho, and the most common question I get is, what do you think about this cat food brand? It sucks! Totally kidding. Although it's probably not that great, because unfortunately most commercialized cat food brands are low quality and not appropriate for cats. So for this situation, I highly recommend learning how to read cat food labels properly. That way you can find a cat food that works for you and your cat. I have an entire video playlist dedicated to learning how to read cat food labels. I'll put that and other related videos in the top right corner throughout the video. They'll also be in the description below. I've been studying AAFCO guidelines since 2017, and I completely understand that it's frustrating, annoying, and pretty confusing if you don't understand these guidelines. So I made these cat food label cheat sheets that you can use. This is actually what I use when I evaluate, analyze, and review cat foods. In the top portion, you'll see the product names. So that's what to look for and what to avoid when it comes to the product name. I'm not talking about brand name or manufacturer who's making the food. I'm talking about the product name, whatever it says along with the named meat ingredient. So for example, chicken recipe, that's the product name. That's what you need to pay attention to. Then this section right here is all about ingredients to avoid. That's based on Dr. Kruger's website of all of the different cat foods that he and a few other people analyzed. Couple hundred different brands, and they put together a list of the absolute worst ingredients. This section right here is all about the guaranteed analysis. You'll just plug in what the numbers say on the cat food label, and then you do this simple math and it'll show you how many carbs approximately the cat food has on a dry matter basis. And this is a point system, so at the end you'll have a total of whatever out of 20 points, and then you can decide whether or not it's worth it to feed that food to your cat. I also have a cat food reviews playlist. So there's a video about the overall best cat food brands that I've found, and then individual videos for dry food, wet food, freeze-dried raw, and just in general, a raw food reviews video. I always put links in the description, so all of the brands that I mention in those videos are in the description, and I've also included runner-ups in those descriptions as well. Many of them are formulated for all life stages, which means it's appropriate for kittens, adult cats, and seniors. So you'll always want to look on the website's description where it says this is formulated to meet the guidelines established by AAFCO for all life stages. That means all cats, kittens, adult cats, and seniors. The only thing that changes is the amount of food that you feed. Speaking of which, the next common frequently asked question I get about cat food is, how much do I feed my cat? How much do I feed my kitten? Now, obviously, every cat is an individual, so you have to tailor this based on your cat's needs. But a general guideline is weigh what you're currently feeding. So figure out the amount of food that you're currently feeding in one day. Write it down. Then you're going to weigh your cat. And again, write that number down. Then take a look at a body condition score card. Now, this card is a spectrum of different weights going from severely overweight through ideal to severely underweight and everything in between. So you're going to use that scorecard to see where your cat fits. This is going to determine if what you're currently feeding is too much, just right, or not enough. That's going to help you see if your cat needs to lose some weight, if he's good, or if he needs to gain a little weight. Because again, every cat is an individual, so you have to figure out how much to feed based on your cat. Now you're going to check the cat food label to see what they recommend based on your cat's weight. Is it more than what you're feeding? Is it less than what you're feeding? Use that as a general guideline to readjust how much you're feeding, and then see if that amount works for your cat. Continue to weigh your cat weekly, check the body condition score regularly. That way you know where your cat is at. If your cat's severely overweight and needs to lose weight, he shouldn't lose more than about half a pound per month. That's the general rule of what's safe. If he loses too much weight too quickly, he's at risk for fatty liver disease. So check with your vet, see what a safe weight loss plan is for your individual cat, And then you would basically slowly decrease the amount of food that you feed over a long period of time. And ideally, you would upgrade the cat's food as well to a better quality food. Now for kittens, it's a little different. For kittens, you need to feed your kitten as much food as required as their adult projected weight. So let's say, for example, your kitten should weigh 10 pounds or about 4.5 kilograms when he's an adult. So right now he doesn't weigh that much, but in the future, when he's an adult, that's what his weight should be, right? So you're going to feed your kitten as much food as required as his adult weight. So whatever a 10-pound or 4.5 kilogram cat would need to eat, that's how much you feed your kitten. So again, every cat is an individual. Check with your vet, or you can just search online what is the average ideal weight for, and then whatever your cat's breed is. If you don't know your cat's breed, chances are he's just going to fit under the domestic short hair category. And generally for those cats, around 10 pounds or 4.5 kilograms is ideal weight. But again, use that body condition scorecard to see if that weight is appropriate for your cat. Now, if you're feeding raw food, typically the general guideline is to feed between 2 and 4% of your cat's weight, or your kitten's adult projected weight. The company where I buy Jericho's food has a calculator for this, so you can just go on their website. It's linked below. You put in your cat's weight in pounds or kilograms, and then you choose the percent that you want to feed, and it'll tell you how much total you would feed for that day. But again, those are general guidelines, so maybe if you're not sure where to start at 3%. That's right there in the middle. Do that for a few weeks, weigh your cat weekly, take notes on what's happening, and then you can adjust from there as needed. Now, the next question is, how often do I feed my cat? How often do I feed my kitten? Apparently, the cat's stomach is very small. It's about the size of a ping pong ball. That's pretty tiny. If you were to put food in a ping pong ball, it would be about 1 ounce or 28 grams. So if you're feeding your cat more than 1 ounce at a time, you might experience some scarf and barf. Cats may regurgitate if they've eaten too much food at once. So you have to see what works with your cat. If you find that your cat's eating a lot of food and then throwing it up, you might want to split up the daily portions into smaller meals. Jericho is a big scarf and barfer, so I feed him 3 main meals throughout the day. So 1 in the morning and then 2 at night. And I also feed his treats in the middle of the day around noon. So that way it's broken up, it's not too much food at once. And I honestly might switch to 4 main meals a day instead of 3 main meals a day. And that doesn't mean that you're feeding your cat extra food. You're taking the total of what the cat eats in the day and just portioning it out into more meals instead of 2 big meals, for example. Now, kittens especially need way more frequent meals because they're eating a lot of food, and you don't want them to eat a whole bunch of food and then throw it up. So with kittens, generally it's about 5 to 6 meals per day, and then around 6 months of age, you can go down to probably 3 or 4 meals a day. But again, these are general guidelines. You have to do what works for your individual cat and for your individual situation. The next common, frequently asked question that I get about cat food is, my picky cat won't eat, what can I do? So this especially happens when you're introducing new foods. Maybe your cat's eating dry kibble right now, you're trying to introduce wet food and they just eat around it. Your cat just turns his nose up, your cat just walks away, cries and cries and cries until you give him dry food. So there are a couple issues here. Number one, most importantly, cats are very sensitive to change. Doesn't matter what kind of change it is. If you change the litter box, you change the food, you change the furniture, you change homes, any type of change stresses cats out. Cats like predictability and they like routine in their lives. This is a survival instinct that's been ingrained for thousands of years. Just imagine if you lived outside and you had to find a clean place to eat, clean place to drink water, clean place to do your bathroom business. So like you're fighting for your survival, you want to do the same things every day. That way you don't have any surprises. That way every day is the same. There's no chance of being mauled by a predator. I know it sounds silly. Cats live indoors. They don't have to worry about those things. But again, these are survival instincts that have been ingrained for thousands of years. Just think about how your cat plays with a toy. It's very similar to how cats hunt. These are instincts that cats they're not going to get rid of no matter how many years they spend living indoors. So cats don't like change. So when you change food, you have to do so very gradually. The other issue here is that many cat food brands that produce kibble products spray flavor enhancers and palatants on the food to entice the cat to eat more of it. Cats are not grain and carb eaters by choice. Kibble, all types of kibble, all types of dry food, is cooked and pressurized. They need starchy ingredients, otherwise the ingredients would fall apart. It wouldn't hold that kibble shape. So since it's roughly 30% carbs on a dry matter basis, pet food manufacturers say, okay, well, cats don't choose to eat grains and carbs, so we need to spray these powerful smells, flavor enhancers on it, so that the cat eats more of it. That way it's actually nutritious. But cats develop a very serious craving for these flavor enhancers. They're very keen on smells. So if you open a bag of dry food, it has a very powerful smell. Raw food, unless you're feeding stinky green tripe, raw food has no smell. And some wet foods, good quality wet foods don't have a powerful smell like dry food, right? And the other thing is the texture. You're going from a dry, crunchy food to a wet, moist, mushy food, basically. So cats are very picky about that as well. So when you're introducing new foods, you have to do so very gradually. So first, you have to get your cat eating at scheduled meal times. Portion meals at scheduled meal times, no more buffet. Give your cat a few weeks to get adjusted to this, then you can start very, very, very tiny amount. Mix the new food in with the current food. So each day will be 5% more of the new food and 5% less of the current food. And you're gonna start with only one meal, just one meal. It's gonna be a very, very tiny amount. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but this is the process that has worked for Jericho, for my mother's 4 cats, for my best friend's cats, and a lot of you that watch these videos. A lot of you have said, I tried this and that in the past. I tried every cat food brand and every trick, and my cat didn't do anything. Then I did what you said, 95% current food, 5% new food, and then 90-10, and then 85-15, and the cat accepted the new food. So have a lot of patience, have a lot let This is gonna take hard work, but if you don't do the work, nothing's gonna change. Your cat's not gonna be like, let me look in the cabinets, let me eat this today. No, you have to make this change. What other questions do you have? Let me know in the comments below and we'll make more videos. Thanks for watching.